Hello and welcome to the FSF Podcast. I am Tim. I am your host. And just a gentle reminder that you have found your way to a show that is made by nerds for nerds. So, congratulations. Now, our guest today is a fast rising up and coming actress, voice actress. She's a dancer. She's a musician. You've noticed her in shows, no doubt, like Saving Hope, Orphan Black, Ginny and George, Jupiter's Legacy, or possibly even Nurses. But she has a lot of us nerds now on her radar because she has been cast as Kay Vess in the video game Star Wars Outlaws. So that means we get to say welcome to the show, Humberly Gonzalez. Welcome to the show, Humberly.
Thanks for having me.
I am so very excited. We're going to talk a little bit about the game as well and all that because I'm a massive Star Wars fan. The majority of the Funko Pops that you see behind me are, in fact, mostly Star Wars. Out of the 250 or so in my collection, probably about 200 of them are Star Wars.
Whoa.
So anytime there's an opportunity for me to talk to anybody Star Wars related, I'm like, yes, please, let's do that. So it scratches the nerd itch. But before we get into anything that's the game or Star Wars related, one of the things that we like to do on our show, it's kind of become our staple when we're talking to our guests. The very first thing that we like to do is talk to them about their origin because we're nerds and nerds love origin stories. So what is the origin of Humberly Gonzalez? How did you get to here? What got you interested in doing something in the world of the arts and entertainment?
I was born and raised in Venezuela. So half my life ago, I only spoke Spanish and lived in South America. But our culture is very rich in performance. I grew up around parents who are musicians, and I learned to dance at a very young age. It's just part of our culture. I think there's so much talent and gifts within that community. We just don't often get the chance to actually pursue a career in the arts. So for me, everything changed when I immigrated to Canada when I was 15 years old. And, even just by being part of like drama classes and dance classes, I always knew that I was drawn to the art form. I just didn't know I was going to pursue it as a career because honestly, I didn't think my immigrant parents wanted that for me. It was this assumption that it wasn't a real job, or that they were going to be disappointed if I didn't become an engineer or a doctor. But it was actually my parents who encouraged me to go into it because they came to every production, even if it was just community theater. They felt like I was called to do it, and it was them who actually gave me the permission for me to actually believe in myself and pursue it in a more professional setting. So after high school, I went to acting school for post-secondary, and that was really exciting because I was able to move across the country to Montreal and go to a conservatory. I was able to, just kind of hone in on the skills. And when I graduated from there, I moved to Toronto, got my first agent. I guess that was 9 years ago now, and I started auditioning. And seriously, starting from like a very, very small roles and commercial work to now
Mm-hmm.
leading a Star Wars video game. I mean, I think when you put in effort and work, it really pays off. And I do also feel like I was meant to do this. So it was saying yes to myself and being guided. I had great mentors, so I'm very grateful.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think anytime when I talk to somebody and for many people many people that we've had on the show, it's not something that they felt like they wanted to do. Many times it's something that they felt like they needed to do. They were, like you said, this was just kind of like where you were going, and you know, uh, so I think that's kind of cool that you had that. But how did you make the decision to focus more on one aspect of what you were doing than the other? Because I mentioned in the introduction, there's there was there's some singing, there's some dancing, there's acting, and everything that you're doing. So do you have a preference of one over the other, or is it just that this is where we started off?
Yeah, I think it naturally took that course because I ended up going to a theater conservatory. I knew that performance was at the center of every expression of the art, whether it's singing or dancing. It still leads back to performance. It is a vehicle to getting a story or a perception or point of view out, whether it be in film and TV or theater or dancing or singing. I think at the end of the day, you are still performing, you're still putting yourself out there, but at the core, I think acting is always the center of it all. And so I knew that if I pursued acting, everything else would come along with it. And it has. Through my career, I've been able to play singers, I've been able to play dancers, I've been able to do all three in one. And I still do. So, whether I lean into one or the other, I think it depends on the opportunity and it aligning to where I'm at in life. But I still love all of them so much. I think singing was my first love, and I know there will be a day where I'm gonna make my own music and I'll release an EP, and I still wanna do all of that. But for
Awesome.
now, it seems like the acting world has just kinda taken me by storm.
All right. Well, very cool. All right. So now let's move on into something more Star Wars related because, well, Star Wars. Um, so with Star Wars Outlaws, it's and this is the other thing when I've talked with people who are even like I said, even Star Wars adjacent, I want to talk to them, but I'm always curious to find out what Star Wars means to them individually. Were you a fan of the universe before you got started in Outlaws, or did Outlaws help you open doors into the universe of Star Wars?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I know a soul that doesn't know Star Wars. You are introduced to it in some way or another.
Mhm.
I'm not definitely a super fan like you, who has an entire room of 200 Funkos in their wall. Um,
Ta-da!
but I grew up with it in Spanish, actually. Like it was Guerra de las Galaxias growing up. Everybody knew the movies. People dressed up as, Leia or whoever for Halloween. We watched the movies. We got, the like McDonald's toys or whatever it was. Like there was
Sure,
always
yeah.
collectibles. It was in the periphery of the world. Did I ever think I was going to be a part of the franchise? No. That felt like such an untouchable thing. Like that wasn't never my goal. It's really cool that I'm here now. And the fact that it's through a video game, not even in live action, is also very cool because being in video games was always one of the first things I knew I wanted to do professionally when I
Oh,
graduated theater
nice.
school. Um, because I was introduced to the world of motion capture without knowing that it was actors. I thought it was all animated and it was like a very different world. But when I found out that it was actual performers, I was like, oh, I want to do that. And so I've been really working to lead a project like this. But I mean, I love Star Wars. I love the movies. I think I've seen pretty much all the content that's out there. And um, now being in it, I think I have a very different perspective on it. I always wonder, like, where's Kay Vess in all of this? Like, where's our storyline? When I was doing research and kind of rewatching all the stuff, especially within the original trilogy,
Mhm.
it just kind of became more meaningful. Like, oh, I'm really a part of this.
That's awesome. I think with characters like Kay Vess and, then we have um and his my mind just went completely blank, but the character from the Jedi Survivor games,
Hell, yeah.
yeah, Cal Kestis, there it is. Woo, yeah, went completely blank for a half second there. Um, I think there's an awesome opportunity for those characters to be brought into canon and have them
Mhm.
be a part of I mean, they're already part of the zeitgeist of Star Wars because of being in the games and being popular games at that. And to see the feedback that you're getting for the character has been amazing.
Yeah.
Um, uh, we've also talked to about to a few other people. I have it anyway on this show about the game and the importance of the game because it's the first Star Wars game that's really kind of like big open sandbox and being able. I mean, there is a definite story there, but once you kind of get off that first planet, you're able to go here and do this and do
Mhm.
that and do all these things. Um, and so to me, that's very kind of impressive. What does it mean to you to be part of such a big game that allows you to have the a main character be somebody that is getting such good reviews and the story of the game is getting such good reviews?
For me as a performer, my goal is always to tell the best story that I can, and for people to understand that, to feel inspired by it, for them to create their own art in some way or feel seen in some way. I've been getting a lot of messages about, the voice performance, the times where it's a very vulnerable part of the story,
Yeah.
what impacts them about the performance itself. Because when I'm in it, I'm not seeing the result, and I'm not focused on what it will be. I literally go day by day, and this was a 2-year process for me, where at the start of it, I was still figuring out who Kay Vess was. There's such a trust in there that for me, it was truly going in kind of blind and hoping that the story itself comes through. So I'm just really proud to have a part in the original trilogy that we all love and know so well, that we carved out this specific time in space that this new character can exist in, and it's
Yeah.
canon, and it's interacting with syndicates and worlds and landscapes that we just grew up with. I think that makes me really proud, because it's something that, it's like this once in a lifetime opportunity. Like, when would I have ever had a chance to really step into that world? And we all dream of that. Like, when you
Sure.
watch the movies, you always thought, "Oh, I wonder what it would be like to walk these streets or see a sunset or just like eavesdrop on people in the cantina or try the food or fight whoever.
Right.
Like, who do I want to make good with? Who do I want to betray? What would it be like?" There's a lot of what ifs in this world, because it is so expansive. To get to even have a glimpse of that in this game is so special. And so for me, it is an honor to be a part of it, and for people to play as me and hear my voice, and for them to enjoy it. I've heard a lot of great comments about what it felt like experiencing it through me.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. That's good. I'm glad they like it, because
Right.
that would have
Sure.
been
Yeah.
very annoying if they were like, "Oh god, this chick's voice, like, can't stand it."
I can't listen to her for another half hour.
Right? Yeah.
She keeps droning on about her
I
mission. Anyway,
know.
no. Yeah, I have enjoyed your performance. I think that your lightheartedness shows up in the areas where it should. You're serious where you can definitely feel the change of emotions. And so
Mhm.
and I think especially when it comes to voice acting, because that's the only part of you that people can see is your
Yeah.
voice, and you're putting so much into it. So that's awesome, that you're getting that type of feedback, and well deserved feedback. Now, one of the other things that you've been posting a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but a few times anyway, I noticed that you posted some pictures of yourself in the mocap suit, and you mentioned mocap earlier, and I was going to bring this question up earlier, but I kind of side quested there for a second. But so you posted pictures of yourself in the mocap suit, but what are the differences for those of us who are not, we think of actors, we think of somebody just being in front of a camera, or a voice actor just being in front of a microphone. But what is the difference between being an actor or a voice actor versus being somebody in a mocap suit and being responsible for the video game, the animation movement of them as well?
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of the time when you get cast into video games, usually you're also in mocap, but not always. There's so many characters that they have to fill spots for. So just doing voice acting is a whole other world. I find it to be very vulnerable, because you don't have the access to your body. You have to
Right.
rely so much on emoting and making sure that the tonality and the emotion and everything, that it's like this full all-encompassing character only through voice. You really have to not judge yourself and not criticize yourself too much, and make sure that you're able to play and receive direction, and they're hearing it. And sometimes you don't hear your own voice, so like being in the voice studio, there's a lot of playing around of like, I wonder if that works. What's the feeling here? Does this actually sound like I'm running and being hit? Does this actually sound like I'm in battle or in combat? Or so
Right.
there's there's a layer of like vulnerability in there that I always find like really exciting. And I also feel like it's very comfy. Like, you can show up in your pajamas and just be sitting there in a dark room with your tea, and it's like very low key, and I love that about it. Like, it's a fun part of the job. Now, when you're doing mocap, it's such a technical world. You're in this suit that is tight and itchy and hot. and you have to kind of overpass that. And then you're wearing the HMC helmets, which are heavy. They used to be called skull crushers. They've improved them since, because I've been doing mocap for like 9 years, and they're a lot better now, and they have counterweights so that you're not just like tilting your head to one side where the camera is. And it is a lot of technical bypassing before you get to just be in the scene with the other actor. And there's no sets or hair or makeup or costumes. It's really just
Right.
your imagination, your creativity. There's a lot of suspending your disbelief, and that's why I compare it so much to being a kid again, when we used to play with toys and create all these words out of nowhere. And that's kind of what mocap is. You really have to create it in your mind's eye and really see it, and it has to be convincing, because the camera catches everything. And because you are marked up from head to toe, every movement is intentional. Nothing gets overlooked, nothing is glossed over. So there's a bit more of awareness than you would on camera in film, when you're like, oh, what frame is this? Great. I don't even have to wear my shoes for this, or I could be sitting, and you're just focused
Mhm.
on your facial expressions. But in mocap, it's all behavior based, it's physicality. So I do compare it more to theater. It's alive all the time, and that's
Okay.
really cool. I love it so much because of that. It's like a mix of film and theater.
All right. I like that. That actually plays well into my next question for you, because you're talking about how it's live all the time. You're having to do all these different things. So I've also noticed that now, in going back to the voice acting side of things for a little bit, a lot of voice actors employ different methods when it comes to finding the voice for this character, or finding a voice for that character. Um, or if they're trying to emulate a certain emotion, they do certain things behind, the camera, so to speak. Now, like for instance, Pedro Pascal for the Mandalorian would hold a pillow to simulate Grogu when he was supposed to be holding Baby Yoda. So the question for you I have is, what did you do for scenes when you were interacting with Nyx? Because by
Yeah.
the way, I need like 12 Nyxes immediately.
I know. I mean, the amazing thing is that all of the scenes I had to play with him, like quite literally physically, we had a professional puppeteer who had a Nyx puppet that she built that looks just like him, and I was able to actually interact with him. So thankfully, I
Oh,
wasn't
cool.
just looking at a tennis ball, which is what would happen a lot of the time when you're working on green screen or in a mocap volume. They don't often go a step beyond and build the thing itself. So Camille, who was our professional puppeteer, she really brought him to life, and everybody played in. Everybody, every time they saw it, that even when we were cutting in between scenes, people would still pet him and talk to him, and like we always kept that relationship going. So anytime that you see me in the cinematics or anything, like pet him or interact with him, that's actually him. There's actually a puppet there that I'm interacting with, and the animators were able to use that, put it into the game. When I'm in the voice studio, I obviously don't have him, but I've had a dog for 14 years, and he is my Nyx. Anytime that I had to interact with him, I honestly just thought of my dog, and he's literally right here
Excellent.
next to me. He is always next to me, always following me. This is Oreo.
Hi, Oreo.
He was asleep, and now he's like, "Why'd you wake me up from a nap?" But
I was
anytime that I
taking a
had to be
good
like,
nap.
"Do you hear something, buddy? Do you hear?" It's like little squeaks only, but like literally it's him. And so for me, it
That's
was
cool.
easy to lean into who is next in that relationship, because like my dog, he follows me everywhere. He is like a mirror of me, for protection, I wish my dog did all the things that Nyx did, but that's something
Right?
else.
You know,
I'm
be able
like,
to
he
scale the
literally can
wall,
do
hit the codes. Yeah.
anything. My life would be so much easier, because Nyx is like an extra arm for Kay when she can't do
Hmm.
things, right? So, but Oreo actually came to visit in the mocap studio a lot of the time, and the director was like, "Let him follow you around. Let's see what he does. It's just like really interesting." And they were like, "Maybe next time we'll just put a little mocap suit on him and just record him, because he really just follows me around." And it would be very easy for them to just animate him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny too, because when I was, while playing the game with Nyx, and him bopping around the screen and doing all the things that Nyx does, I was kind of like, he's kind of like a puppy, but
Hmm.
but bluish, and
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a. I think it's really neat that that's one of the things I think that Star Wars has always been good at is the creature
The
creation.
creatures, yeah.
Yeah, and making you want to go out and get the thing, so that you can have this plushie, this squeezy, that's so that you can do the things on that they're doing on the screen with like,
Yeah.
well, I want to hold a baby Yoda, so you had to go out and
Yep.
get a baby Yoda, and and now there's Nick's, and for the skeleton crew, there's that. Oh boy, I can't remember the name of the species, but he looks like a he's called the baby elephant boy, the little blue
Oh,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's the Max Rebo uh, species. But yeah, and that's already getting some track online about people getting all
Mhm.
excited, waiting for that toy and that thing to come up, and for people to be able to buy it. So yeah, that'll end up back over here as well. That's anyway. Uh, all right, so like we said in the beginning, it's not just Star Wars that you've worked on though. Um, I noticed too that there's another project now, according to IMDb, and I have to say according to IMDb because I'm often surprised how much on IMDb is like the Wikipedia of Hollywood, and it's not always accurate. So I say, according to IMDb, you've been working on a project for Netflix called Waterfront, and I was hoping that that is something you could talk with us, even if just a little bit about, what you can share about that so that we can know a little more.
Yeah, I'm currently in North Carolina filming season 1, and it's Kevin Williamson's new series. I mean, he's iconic. He created Dawson's Creek, and I Know
Hmm.
What You Did Last Summer, all the Scream movies. He's had such an incredible career. So to have him here and work with him, and this is a very special project for him, and we have an incredible cast, which we revealed on deadline. We're working Maria Bello and Hold McCallany, and we have
Hmm.
Melissa Benoist and Danielle Campbell, Jake Weary, like just iconic people that, we got Rafael Silva. So me and him are like Latinos in it. And it's very exciting. We've been, working hard here. It's just I think it's gonna be like that new family dysfunctional drama, thriller,
Perfect.
romance, like all of that stuff. We've been saying that it kind of reminds us of like Ozark and Bloodline.
Oh
Um,
wow. Okay.
so it's got that vibe, and uh yeah, I think people are gonna love it. I'm very excited, and to be working in the US and just like by the beach. It's so nice. Yeah, I'm like, I'm not in Canada anymore. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any idea of when that's going to be released for Netflix?
Oh my gosh,
Or
no, we just started filming. People always ask that. They're like,
fair.
"When?" I'm like, "Guys, we just started filming like a month ago."
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because I
Yeah,
noticed.
it
I
takes it
remember
takes
seeing the.
time.
I remember it does for sure. I remember seeing the deadline announcement, and I thought, wow, that's a really stellar cast.
Yeah, yeah, we
And
have lots of talent.
yeah, yeah, some really great talent on that show, and that should make it a fun watch, especially if it's that, like you said, that dysfunctional family kind of dramedy type situation with the drama and a little bit of comedy and everything. That should be a little thriller. That should be interesting to watch. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that,
Mhm.
guys and girls. Make sure you're watching for Waterfront on Netflix. All right, Umberly, it is time has come for you to
Alright,
answer the silly question.
alright.
So this will be a lot less painful than anything else I've put you through so far. But Umberly Gonzalez, what's your favorite dinosaur?
Dinosaur. I mean, it's funny, the first one that came to mind was T-Rex, but the reason I love them is because of their little hands, and anytime
Hmm.
I see a little meme online of, like, why a T-Rex can't do something, but they're, like, the most vicious of the dinosaurs, but it's because of
Sure.
their little hands that they can't, it just gives me so much joy. I'm like, "Why were they created?" And then they have, like, these tiny little hands that they can't do anything with that. Not really. Not really, like, they got big jaws, I guess, like,
Right?
that's
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
I like that. Okay. You ever seen the T-shirt that says, "If you're happy and you know it, clap your oh." and it's just a
Oh,
T-Rex there with his head down and his little
exactly. Like, it just never gets old, and it's always funny.
yeah. And then my other thing I always think of when I anybody talks about T-Rex, immediately my mind goes to the Disney movie, Meet the Robinsons, and
Oh,
and the
yeah.
guys with the bowler hat guy and puts the hat on the T-Rex to control him, and he's like, "Why didn't this work, well, Master? I don't know how well this plan was thought out. I got a big head and little arms." Anyway,
Little arms.
uh,
Yeah.
but that always amuses me greatly, and
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times we have quoted that around my house between myself and my children, and because I always joke that I got a big old head, and I'll be like, I don't know how well this plan was thought out. I got a big head. So, but anyway, enough about me. But all right, so T-Rex, we're putting it in the books. Humberly
Yeah.
Gonzalez's favorite dinosaur is a T-Rex. There you go. You heard it here, kids. All right, so Humberly, thank you so much for being on the show today. Where can our listeners go to find out about more about you, your work, and anything that you've got coming up?
Uh, I'm pretty active on Instagram and Twitter. I guess X. No one calls it X. It's Twitter. Instagram is just at Umberly, just my name, and at Umberly G for the other one. And
All right.
yeah, I always post, behind the scenes and what's up and coming. We have Star Trek coming up next year, which I'm very excited about. That one's live action. It'll be a movie on Paramount Plus. So we're all very excited about that one too.
I'm sorry, back up a little bit. You're doing something for Star Trek?
How do you not know this? You're the nerd here.
I didn't. I missed that somehow, some way.
Oh my God. Well, we
All
were
right,
at
so
Comic-Con
back up.
this summer
Tell me more.
and we
I'm
revealed the
listening.
first teaser trailer for Star Trek Section 31. And
See, I knew about 31. Somehow I missed that you were in that.
yeah,
No way.
I
Okay. All
sure
right.
am. Yes,
Holy
when
crap.
you watch the teaser trailer, you see a glimpse of me. They don't want to reveal too much because it's a
Oh,
very
sure.
shocking reveal. But if you go on my Instagram, you'll see it as well, and it'll be the thumbnail on the Section 31 teaser trailer.
Holy
But
Pete,
yeah,
I missed that.
I know I'm in both franchises that have to do with
Right?
Star Wars. I know.
What? That's
At
that.
the
Okay, so
same time. Yeah.
that's a pretty big feather in your cap there. That's awesome.
Yeah, I got to work with Michelle Yeoh and Omari Hardwick. We have an incredible
Well, yeah.
cast. We filmed that in Toronto earlier this year.
I okay. I feel really unnerdy at the moment.
Surprise!
So I will hang my head in shame in my box over here. 5 minutes for not knowing something I should have known. Holy, see, because I know about 31 and I've read about Section 31 coming and doing all these things. I hadn't really paid attention to or seen a cast list other than Michelle Yeoh, and I knew that she was for sure in it. And yeah, well, that's awesome. Okay.
You're like, "Oh, shoot, dang." Yeah, we got a few Canadian people, we got some people from the UK, we got Michelle. It's, like, great. We have Sam Richardson as part of it, who's hilarious and amazing. Casey Roll, who's also Canadian.
Hmm.
Yeah, the cast is incredible. We had a fun time shooting it, and, I got to go to Comic-Con and hang out with all of them, and yeah, it was awesome.
So yeah, for me now, one of the things that's most amazing about this is so you're in two, the probably the two largest IPs that have anything to do with science fiction. Um, with there's some definite differences in the fandom, and we can talk about that at a whole nother time. Uh, but one of the things I have loved about the Star Trek fandom, because I've only been really involved in anything with Trek for the last couple of years. I was pretty much non Star Trek all the
Mhm.
time. Um, but then there was this show called Strange New Worlds, and I
Oh,
got
yeah.
hooked. And yeah, so Prodigy brought me in, Strange New Worlds, and I was done.
Yeah.
So, anyway, but one of the things I've been most impressed with is the openness and the welcomingness of the
Mhm.
Star Trek fandom.
It's a great
It's
fandom. Yeah.
it's amazing. Yeah. Um, Star Trek fans, please take some notes. That's all I'm going to say today. Anyway, but anyway, all right. Well, that's very cool. I will look forward to that. and we'll make sure to put your contact information, your social media pages in the links down below, so that people can give you a follow online and find out the things that I didn't know about because Tim was bad at
There's so
research.
many things. Who knows what else you've missed?
Oh, I try not to be the digital stalker. I go to somebody's page and I'm trying to find out more about them, do my research properly, find out more about them. But I also feel at one point I'm kind of like, well, I think I've stalked them enough today. I could probably go on to
You're
something
like,
else.
yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna forget some stuff so I don't look crazy, but it's not
Right,
stalking
exactly. Yeah.
when the actor puts it all out there, you know?
Right. Well, as my co-host would typically say, so Kathleen isn't able to be here today, but she likes to call it, we put a pretty bow of research on this talking, so it's not
Mhm.
as weird. But yeah, but we'll put that information down there, and then hey, maybe once this comes out, we can convince you to come back on and talk some truck with us as
Yeah.
well. So, but all right, guys, that'll give you something to look forward to. And in the meantime, if you haven't already, go ahead and click that like and subscribe button down there. It helps our show continue to grow. Get amazing guests like Humberly Gonzalez to come here and remind me why I need to be a better nerd and do my research a little bit better. So please subscribe. It helps us well more than we can ever tell you. And go check out her pages, because she does have some really cool stuff out there. And even if you don't read it all, apparently there's more cool stuff to discover. So go check out Umberly's pages. You will not be disappointed. So guys, thank you so much. And Umberly, thank you as well for crafting some time out of I know you've been very busy. We've been talking a lot. And so I appreciate you crafting some time for us today. And yeah. All right, guys. That's it. Show's over.
Copyright 2024 FSF Podcast. Reference to any specific product or entity mentioned on this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by FSF Podcast. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have any questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at info@fsfpodcast.com.